He is the terror that flaps in the night. He is the dust you can never get off your game cartridge. He is Darkwing Duck, and this is his official tie-in game on the Nintendo Game Boy. After the success of many other Disney video games, such as DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers, and Tailspin, the entertainment giant had once again reached out to Capcom to develop another one of their TV properties. This time taking a crack at the Midnight Mallard, Darkwing Duck was first released on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1992, and then a stripped-down version onto the Nintendo Game Boy in 1993. Running on a modified Mega Man 5 engine, one would assume Capcom was starting to phone it in with these Disney games. But was that really the case? Let's find out, and
let's get dangerous.
Darkwing Duck! Darkwing Duck!
When you fire up the game, you're treated to a little intro movie, trying to evoke the intro of the TV show. Once you get to the title screen, you get some exposition as to what's going on in the game's plot. The crime syndicate FOUL have hired a plethora of supervillains to terrorize the city of St.Canard, and the peacekeeping organization of Shush call on the services of Darkwing Duck to take them all down. You begin with selecting between 3 stages, which the trusty sidekick Launchpad McQuack will explain what's going on there and which villain is behind it. Once you confirm if you want to go there, he will pilot you in the Thunderquack to drop you into the action. You don't have to play these stages in any order, but once you complete the first set of 3, another set of 3 will become available. Once that second set is complete, you only get one last selection as the final stage. Entering a stage, Darkwing will drop down, strike a pose, and say his catchphrase to strike fear in the hearts of evildoers. You make your way through a stage by way of platforming, as well as using Darkwing's gas gun to shoot enemies, taking them down in a varying amount of hits depending on the strength of the enemy. He also is able to duck out of the way of some projectiles and enemies by holding down on the D-pad. If you hold up, he will raise his cape to deflect some of the weaker bullets and projectiles tossed at him. These extra moves do become useful in dealing with a handful of specific enemy types. Darkwing's gas gun also has a stronger mode that lets him use special attacks at the cost of gas containers. You have to pick these special settings up as they appear as items throughout stages. There's the lightning gas that shoots 2 lightning bolts in diagonal directions, the heavy gas which drops down to the floor and spreads shots out in both directions, and the plunger gas, which lets him temporarily stick plungers to the walls for platforming purposes. There are items littered around the stage as well as randomly dropped by enemies. Some are just score-related items like diamonds and gold bars. However, if you reach some score milestones, you get a 1-up. Other items include small and large health containers, small and large gas containers, and a Darkwing Duck doll that serves as a 1-up. There are also special stages that you have to reveal by shooting in their location and then touching the resulting icon that appears. These bonus stages involve shooting or cape blocking floating capsules that will randomly release all the items listed above, but mostly score-related items. Once you get to the end of a stage, you're in for a boss fight with one of Darkwing's gallery of rogues. They all have their own attack and movement patterns that suit the battle arena, but if you hit them with enough attacks, they'll get subdued. Once a stage is cleared, it will be indicated on the map screen. So, I've never actually played Mega Man 5, but I have played Mega Man games, and while I didn't realize it back in the day, I can now tell the similar feeling between the 2 games. However, it's not a total copy and paste situation. In fact, I would say the only real similarity is the core platforming and shooting mechanic, and probably the whole select a stage idea too. But Darkwing Duck has all its own stages, music, and artwork. Plus, the specialty attacks are stripped down quite a bit from its inspiration game. Also, hearing how difficult Mega Man games are, this is definitely reduced in difficulty since it was a game targeting a much younger demographic. Don't get me wrong, it still presents some challenges, but seasoned gaming veterans will likely beat this game in about an hour or so. You can call this baby Mega Man all you want, but there's no denying it's still a fun platformer. The gameplay of Darkwing Duck gets a 9 out of 10. Usually when you got a game on the NES and on the Game Boy, the handheld version will feel tight and clustered. That's not the case with Darkwing Duck. However, I will point out that the NES version did feel a lot more expansive by comparison. Translating all the visual assets to Game Boy worked extremely well in this game. Backgrounds in the early stages are basic, but that's because they're outdoors, so they get away with an open sky. Later stages, however, show off a lot more detail, so much so that Capcom would hide some secret items right in front of these details too. Stage platforms were, for the most part, clear and easy to read. You can easily tell what was going to be something you can hang off of, which is great for platforming. Something else I find impressive is that I think all the assets per stage were never reused. They could have easily taken the steel beams from the bridge stage and used them in both the tower and the warehouse stages, but both of those stages got their own designs too. That means that this game held 7 completely different tile sets in it. Even enemies were very rarely repeated, which just added to the uniqueness of each stage. Character animations on Darkwing and his enemies all looked solid and charming. The pixel economy on the small Game Boy screen was clearly paid a great deal of attention. Use of the hardware's limited 4 shades of black and white was put to great use to make everything readable like it could have been hand-drawn. The graphics of Darkwing Duck gets a 10 out of 10. Right off the bat, we're treated to a chiptune rendition of the classic Darkwing Duck intro theme, which will get your head bopping and feet tapping. And shortly after, when you begin a stage, you'll see that Capcom is just up to Capcom things, as the soundtrack is heckin' fun and full of bangers. Just about every tune fits their environment perfectly. The sewers have a sense of reverb and low pace to match the slog through sewer slop. The city is upbeat but creeping with suspicious notes. And the tower stage evokes classic Mega Man tower climb levels of the past. The only track I would say feels out of place is the forest stage, but it's such a bop that nobody cares. Another similarity between Mega Man and Darkwing Duck would have to be its sound effect application. There's no jumping sound effect, but you'll hear a sound every time Darkwing lands on ground or successfully grabs onto a platform. And every time he shoots his gun, you'll hear a small little pew-pew sound, which admittedly is very satisfying when I want to unload into a boss or heavy minion. The lightning gas sound is especially fun too, hearing that buzzing sound. And every time you manage to defeat an enemy, you get a charming little jingle that is just so satisfying. It even happens when you defeat a boss. With everything that could be happening on the screen, the sound effects never got overwhelming, thankfully. I do wonder if that was due to good sound management, or if it was just a happy byproduct of the Game Boy's limited audio load capabilities. The music and sound of Darkwing Duck gets a 10 out of 10. This game screams 90s kid, so it's already dripping with nostalgia all on its own. Proper character and sound usage gave full cartoon feel, and of course, I was watching the TV show any chance I could. The game didn't really come with any extra replayability features to it, but it was just that fun of a game that I kept playing it over and over. I'm pretty sure I replayed and beat this game more times than I can count on my fingers and toes. The game wasn't so hard that it would discourage a young Tony, but it still took some focus and thinking to get through some platforming and finding secrets. The nostalgia hit of Darkwing Duck gets a 9 out of 10. Capcom proved once again that they can make a Disney property shine with great gameplay and appealing music. While it didn't leave a lasting impression like DuckTales did, Darkwing Duck still has a place in the hearts of any kid who managed to play the game. Whether you're a Mega Man fan or not, you need to try this game out. It may be short, but it's fun, and the 90s kid inside you will keep you coming back for more.